Welcome to Film Jury, where movies stand trial and the verdict is always final. In every episode, our roundtable of film fanatics becomes the jury, dissecting the visuals, the sound, the storytelling, and the performances as they examine every element that makes or breaks a movie, because every film deserves its verdict. Warning, this podcast does contain strong language and major spoilers are ahead. Court is now in session. What is going on? And welcome to the Film Jury Podcast. We are continuing our February theme of Love Hurts with the 2015 Gothic romance novel Crimson Peak. It was directed by Guillermo del Toro, written by both Del Toro and Matthew Robbins. I'm the host who took 3 times to get through this movie because I just couldn't stay awake. James.
And I am Heidi Romans, and I am the moth on the wall.
I'm Kat Stratford. I'm so highly offended by what James said. Like, this is my favorite movie.
This is a movie that deserves and receives respect, but not necessarily one that I enjoyed, if that makes sense.
I can appreciate that. I have to comment on your background because it looks like you're broadcasting from the Rapture this morning.
I wanted to be on brand with the snowstorm
Brilliant.
of the film. Yeah.
Love it.
So,
let's get into it.
Yeah. If the walls start raining red behind me.
This movie is positively juicy with that.
Yeah. I saw this movie in theaters when it came out, and
I'm so jealous of you.
Well, and to be fair, like, I enjoyed it at the time, as that was interesting, but I never felt compelled to watch it again. And going into this, I was trying to unpack why I was never curious to explore this movie again. And then watching it through the lens of this show, that became a little bit clearer to me. And I think the biggest thing that this movie struggled with, particularly when it was released, was improper marketing. This was marketed as a horror film. This was marketed as a haunted house film, and that's really not what was served up. And so I think a lot of audiences went into this with one idea of what they were going to receive, and when they were served up with what is a more of a classic love story or love tragedy, they're going to feel disillusioned.
It is for sure like a Gothic novel. I'm somebody who loves like a Gothic novel. It is essentially like a repackaging of Bluebeard, you know? So it does follow that classic literary structure. So I would say, yeah, it's not quite a horror movie.
Mm-hmm. What was your context with this, Heidi? Because I know you were excited to jump on this episode.
Oh, yes. I was not going to miss this one. It's a movie that I think popped up on Netflix years and years ago, just in like the horror genre. And I was like, okay, cool. And I clicked on it and watched it. And was like, that's quirky. It's Guillermo del Toro, right? So it's quirky. And I've watched it, I don't know, 6 or 7 times. And then watching it again last night, I was like, cool. It was just like a refresh for me.
Heidi, were you on the Frankenstein episode, or did you miss that one?
I missed that one.
Okay. That must have been Megan then, because watching this movie, having recently watched his most recent film, Frankenstein, there were so many parallels in how he was crafting the visuals.
Yes. Del Toro loves to use color to tell a story. He loves to use lighting to tell a story. He loves really strong visuals that are absolutely saturated in reds and greens.
Mm-hmm.
If they're opposites on the color wheel, he loves that shit. And you see it throughout both Frankenstein and Crimson Peak. And it's absolutely gorgeous, and it's part of his signature. Another thing that like I think is a strong parallel in both films is, even though the monster in Frankenstein is not played by the same ghost guy that he uses in most of his films, we still see that the ghosts are still, or the monsters, I should say, are still lanky, long, lean, and that feels like a parallel. But like another broader theme is that the monster in Frankenstein and the monster in Crimson Peak are also not the supernatural monsters. Like the monsters are the humans in the story.
I would say that's a broader concept that we find within this genre outside of Del Toro, but it's certainly like you see those beats happen a lot in his work. Hellboy, Shape of Water. He is trying to
Pan's
reframe Pan's Lap, perfect example. He's trying to reframe how the audience sees good versus evil in a way. So, all right, well, let's dive in. So we open with a reskinning of the Universal logo. It is completely in red. And then we go into the Legendary Pictures logo, which is also reskinned in red. So, to Kat's point, we're illustrating right off the bat color matters in this, and to pay attention to color. We then go to a scene not unlike the one I am sitting in now, with a woman in a white a whiteout, a snow blizzard. And then we hit with voiceover, which is something I struggle with in movies. I remember when I was in when I took screenwriting classes, anytime I put voiceover in one of my scripts, there was red ink all over the script, and the messaging was always the same. That's sloppy writing. Voiceover narration is sloppy writing. And because of that, I have never gotten that out of my head unless it's done exceptionally well. And I can list off examples of voiceover narration done exceptionally well, where it's a character in the story. This is not that. We don't need this voiceover narration. But lo and behold, here we have it. I will say, to its credit, the first line of the movie is powerful, which is "Ghosts are real." And we are introduced to the lead character, although we're not really sure it's a lead character yet, but she is telling a story. We're going back in time of when she saw her mother's ghost. This was something interesting, and I didn't look it up as to where he got this, but it definitely felt like a classic homage. The circle close transitions he was doing between shots, that felt like Dracula.
Absolutely, 1000%. Like, this is a Gothic novel, and better believe it borrows from other Gothic novels. I felt those influences absolutely dripping out of the walls.
So we go to this flashback of her at the mother's funeral, and I mean, boy, does this not feel like Frankenstein was a shot-for-shot remake of this funeral scene. I mean, everything monochromatic and white, with the exception of her hair, which was so, what was it, like a amberish blonde?
Yellow gold. Her hair is golden. And we'll see that mirrored in her costume choices in the beginning of the film. Like the first dress that we see her in as an adult is this brilliant gold gown, very structured. Costuming is very important in a Del Toro. And we see, like, in the beginning, everything is like luscious gold, rich, solid. And then we, like, I mean, you just saw in the intro this vision of her running through the snow in a nightgown with her hair down and looking far more desperate than she does in the first moments that we see her as a self-assured adult. Through the movie, her clothes get wispier, like she becomes more frail, and so does her clothing. Her nightgown literally becomes see-through in a scene that we'll see later when she opens a door and there's like snow everywhere. Like her nightgown is basically made out of gauze at that point, but she starts off with strong gold, and that's like a very important element of the film.
Very similar to his other works. Like, there's so much intentionality put into how these shots were made, from light choices, lens choices, camera choices, transition choices, styling choices, color palettes. Like, we're telling lots of layers to this story, which is when I said, I feel like this movie deserves a lot of respect. It's because of the care that is put into it. So we have this flashback scene where, it's the night she came back, this idea that the mother comes back, and we have the main character, Edith, who is in her bedroom, and we see in the background this hallway, and what looks like the shadows for the first second of tree branches coming through what would be a window off screen, casting across the far wall of this hallway. But then the tree branches continue to grow or get bigger or get longer, and we realize these are long hands or fingers or nails. And this is not a shadow of a tree. This is a ghastly apparition that is coming around the hall and down the hall towards her. And the room, by the way, is basking in yellow, amber, and green lights. I mean, we're really, really hitting with these. The green being the cool tones, and the yellow and amber being these contrasting warm tones, hyper saturation. What are you thinking of this scene right here as it plays out? We'll start with you, Heidi.
I really liked it. It wasn't super spooky, but I noticed the clock ticking. It was ticking until you start to see the apparition, and then the ticking disappears. And that happens a couple times throughout the movie, where the noises seem to be also very important. Like, something's coming, or something's here. It's already arrived. And then the clock picks up back later, but there's just that moment where that ticking disappears. And I liked that, because it's kind of that, helping the audience know there's a little spook factor coming, but it's not so scary. I thought that was really cool. And I did notice the red and the green. I didn't notice as much of the gold, but now that you pointed out, it is all over the place.
It really is. And I'm so glad that you pointed out the sound of the clock ticking, because that's not something that I've noticed. You've just given me another excuse to go and rewatch this movie for the 37th time easily. I'm not even exaggerating. I think I might actually be underestimating how many times I've seen this film. Easily one of my favorites. I love the scene, and actually I do this at my kids all the time when I want to scare them. I'll just be like, "My child!"
That's awesome.
This is the first ghost we see in the movie. It is her mother. And although the mother is going to be depicted a little differently from a color palette perspective than the ghost we see later in the film, and we'll discuss why that is, there's a consistent depiction of this semi-translucence. She's there, but you can see through her a little bit, and very skeletal, as Kat pointed out, very drawn out, like extended, lengthened. Everything is disproportionate to what our human counterpart would be: longer hands, longer arms, longer face, wider mouth. Everything is this elongated thing, and we have this image of this long black clawed hand resting on Edith's shoulder as she pulls her daughter towards her and says, "Beware of Crimson Peak." I think it's an effective scene, and I would say this is probably the scariest scene of the movie. There's, at least I can't remember anything I was more frightened of than this opening scene. I think this was well done.
No, because the next time we see the mom and the doorknob is doing the thingamabobber, that for me, I was like, no, not like anything. Well, with the doorknob going wibbly. I don't know why, but that had me in a chokehold, and I was so terrified of that.
I did mark the doorknob as a creepy scene, but it was more of a jump scare. That is coming. Like, it wasn't an unearned jump scare, which we talk about how I don't like those. Like, this was very intentionally earned, not just a cat jumping out of a closet. But I think because this was so early in the movie, it was so quickly introduced, and the mother looks really creepy. Like, it is a very creepy depiction of the specter. So to me, that felt a little more like, just from a visual tone, like that's why I found it a little more frightening.
And it's also worth noting that all the ghosts in this film, like every single specter, is played by Doug Jones, who also plays the spirit in Mama, which is another Del Toro. I believe he is also this guy from Pan's Labyrinth. I don't remember the name, but like he loves to use this like tall, lanky, creepy dude, and put him in a Victorian dress and make him translucent.
I'm glad you brought that up, because with that being said, what tonally is the difference between this specter and Mama from a visual swatch?
I do still feel that they are. I mean, you can see stylistically, there's an aesthetic thread that goes between them. Like you can absolutely, you look at these two things and you're like, well, that was obviously drawn by the same person, but it's not the same. It's not the same ghost. I know that the mom in Mama is not the mom in Crimson Peak. The mom in Crimson Peak, I get a sense of genuine, like that's a genuine ghosty. That's a traditional like Victorian style ghost who has come back through the ether to shout out a warning. They mentioned that the warning's out of time. So this is genuine spirit of Edith's mom, whereas in Mama, that's a whole different being.
Well, it's yeah, I understand it's malevolent. I just meant from a visual tone, they felt copy paste. And that's, if I had a critique when it came to the visuals in this movie, it is the depiction of the ghosts. I understand the use of CGI gives that semi-translucent apparition, but I also feel it's the movie's Achilles heel as well, because I feel the CGI in the movie of the ghost is the one thing that kind of breaks that suspension of disbelief. It has me realizing, yeah, this is animated. This is not genuine. This doesn't feel to be existing in the same time and place that the characters are. And it's, you brought up Mama. I did not like Mama because of the ghost, or how they portrayed the ghost, or how they showed the ghost. And that's, once again, with this. And when we think about Del Toro, when I think about his most jaw-dropping works, they're practical. The aforementioned Pan's Labyrinth, the number of practical effects in Pan's Labyrinth, makeup, special effects, costuming. I would have loved to see a actual portrayal of this versus computer generated, and I think that would have been significantly scarier, more effective, and keep us a little more tethered to reality in the movie.
I think you're wrong, and shut your mouth when you're talking to me, because like, literally the ghost from Pan's Labyrinth is the same ghost from Mama, is the same ghost from Crimson Peak. Like it's the same guy playing. So like the aesthetic like crosses the threshold of all the movies. And I think it's very much intentional. I think it's a little bit dated now when we look at it, because like this movie is 10 years old now. And so like I think we can see that it was sort of like the aesthetic of the time to do that kind of CGI and have that there. I still maintain that it's brilliant. I love Doug Jones in a Victorian dress. Keep that sassy bitch in a Victorian dress, please.
Which is fine, but why do we need to overlay the computer graphics on him? Like, let him.
So that you could tell the difference between the ghost so that you could tell the difference between the ghost in the beginning and the ghost at Crimson Peak, because they're different colors, James. God.
Well, they are different colors, but you could have done that with paint.
Ugh. But you couldn't have had her tongue on the floor.
I'm with Kat on this one. I love the way that they did it. I love the CGI and the dripping blood, and I think it works perfectly.
That's flip this table. I don't have a table. I'm gonna find one.
I am glad you like it. It is something that will always be I'm not going to say a non-negotiable, but it is something that, because it's so overused and because we see how well it can be done without, and how well it can be done practically, and how well it can be done with costumes and with makeup, anytime it's done with computer, I think I feel it's a corner cut, and that's a disappointment for me.
You are a thief of joy. Okay, we have to get into the plot though.
Okay. So, by the way, all this happens, and then we finally hit the title card, which appears on a book cover. Fits the vibe. Like,
It's a Gothic novel. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not a traditional horror.
we meet one of the other characters pretty quick in, and we get a little bit of a sense of who Edith is. Is she wants to be a writer? She's an aspiring writer, and she doesn't want to be the next Jane Austen. She wants to be the next Mary Shelley. That is her identity. And we then
Foreshadowing from Del Toro.
clearly we then meet Alan, played by Sons of Anarchy's own Charlie Hunnam. And we get a sense that Alan is interested in Edith. And we meet Alan's mother, who definitely does not like Edith. Although I was never clear as to why there was.
It's a girl thing. It's a girl thing. It's a girl thing.
Well, no, help me understand this, because it's clearly not a class thing, which would seem to be the main barometer of setting up relationships, would be class. And Edith comes from wealth. Her father's wealthy.
But she's the
Yes,
wrong.
but Edith is trying to be a writer, not a wife.
Exactly.
Okay.
She
Okay,
has
that adds
ambition.
clarity.
She has ambition. Like her daughter, like the mom's daughters are all like in a tizzy because the baronet is coming. And like Edith is like, what the fuck is a baronet? Is he like, he sounds like a loser. And so
Yep.
like she is not, you won't catch Edith at the salon, and that makes her like inappropriate for the mom.
Okay, that tracks way more. So I failed to look it up. What is a baronet?
It's a useless aristocrat.
Got it.
Edith reads this correctly.
Got it. Okay. Because they and for listeners, the baronet is Sir Thomas Sharp, who we're going to meet, played by
Tom Hiddleston.
Yep, Tom Hiddleston.
You do get to see his butt in this movie, if anybody needs another reason to watch.
You do.
You do. It's great.
Yes,
it's
you do.
fantastic.
You do. You're both smiling as if it was a good shot. I don't.
It was an excellent shot.
We'll get there.
That's a pause button shot.
So there's a little bit of quibble between Edith and Alan's mother, which happens in front of Alan. And so we get the sense, okay, Alan's mother does not approve of Edith, although Edith seems none the interested in Alan. She could care less. She is completely career driven in a career path that doesn't seem to have a lot of opportunity. So, she's definitely going uphill here.
Okay, so when we meet Alan's mother on the stairs,
Yep.
Alan's mother says, Edith, our very own Jane Austen. Though she died a spinster, didn't she? And then Edith is like, bitch, actually, I'm trying to be Mary Shelley. She died a widow. And the entire room is like, burn. And then she goes upstairs into her meeting with the publisher, who's like, a ghost story? Ugh,
It's
lame.
the publisher. Yes.
And then he's like, it needs a love story. And she's like, ew, this is like more like a Moana kind of thing. It doesn't have a love story.
And yet she's going to be in a love story, ironically. With ghosts.
I would argue that this film lacks like a traditional love story.
Traditional, yes.
I would say, even though the curtains do sort of close on a kiss a little bit, I would say they, it's much more in a Jane Eyre kind of way. She does not settle for a guy until like she has truly taken him down a peg.
Okay. We're gonna have to get there because I have some questions on that. We have another scene where she's at dinner with her father, and her father seems to be supportive of her, gifts her a pen, like, which was like incredibly sweet. Like, here's someone who, and played by Jim Beaver, by the way,
Who is Bobby from Supernatural.
Supernatural. Yeah. Yeah. He clearly has this like endless resource of wealth and admiration and love for his daughter to support what doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Not because of lack of talent, but because of patriarchy. But he doesn't seem that way. And this gift of this pen seems so symbolic. Like, I'm gifting you a tool to create with. And she literally is like, I want to type my stuff up. Can I use your typewriter? Like, I would have been heartbroken. And the dad was.
Yeah. But it plays some foreshadowing that it's going to be used later, right? I thought anyway. Like, that's important. They pointed it out. It's a thing.
Yeah, I agree. This scene's like heartbreaking to watch. Like,
but it doesn't make you like her.
Girl who's ever wanted to be supported by her dad watched that scene and was like, "What are you doing?"
As a father, it makes me realize, like, I'm not going to buy my kids gifts anymore.
It's good that you learned it early.
What's that?
I said it's good that you learned it early.
Yeah. So now we go and we get to meet Sir Thomas Sharp, the baronet. He goes into her father's office to meet with her father, and he happens upon her manuscript on her desk. And within 2.5 seconds, happens to read the manuscript and compliments her on it.
That's kind of weird.
It was so weird. It was so weird. He's like,
oh, hey, this is a ghost story. Really? I saw the first page.
Like, you had enough time to read the title, sir. Unless the title was, "This is a ghost story."
Listen, if you hadn't pointed that out, I never would have picked up on how fast, I guess, he technically reads it, because the entire premise of this movie is that Tom Hiddleston and Charlie Hunnam are fighting over this woman, and that's the dream of my life. So that's my main focus when I'm watching this.
Okay, no, let's unpack that right now. Are they ever fighting over this woman?
Kind of low-key, yeah. Absolutely. Like, Charlie is very bitchy at Tom Hiddleston. Tom Hiddleston is kind of bitchy at Charlie Hunnam. They're definitely
there is so much yada, yada, yada over the connection between Alan and Edith. We never get a sense of why Alan likes Edith.
Because she's a Betty with depth.
Because
obviously.
What?
She's a Betty with depth.
But why? That didn't answer the question. Why is Alan, or what does the movie do to show that Alan is actually interested in Edith? Or that
the film things that come later, that proves his interest. And she's like, why haven't I seen these before? The
glass plates.
What's the word?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which also are in Frankenstein, by the way.
He comes to pick her up for the ball and like is trying to convince her to go to the ball, and he winds up just going with her dad and is like trying to convince her. Like, he obviously has had conversations with the dad about trying to get with Edith. Like, he is like,
he's got dad's approval already.
Yeah, like dad is like, yeah, this is the fella that I want for her.
I'm not saying it's not present, but I am saying it is wildly underserved because we spend so much time on other stuff that when Alan comes back into the picture close to the third act, it's almost like we've forgotten he was around. Like, he needed to be so much more involved in this narrative.
He's investigating the whole movie. We get
barely. We have little quick scenes of him investigating the movie. There's so much time spent in this movie. There's plenty of time. There's plenty of runtime to give Alan a tiny bit more screen time to further explore who he is, why he does what he does. Why is Edith the person he's drawn to? What is it about Edith that works for him? Not why she's good as a character, but what is it about her that Alan
I think it goes back to that intelligence instead of just being like, I want to be the bride.
Exactly. Again, she's not just a Betty, she's a Betty with depth.
I understand, but the movie needs to tell me that.
They tell you from the beginning when she's like, I want to be Mary Shelley, not Jane Austen.
They need to tell it to Alan in front of me.
That scene happens in front of Alan. You were this is rage.
I understand that, but
this is such a boy comment, James. Like, I need you to tell me exactly what it is. I'm not going to figure it out on my own.
I told you. I gave you instructions. There was a manual.
What I'm saying is Alan is wildly underwritten, and there's so much more opportunity to give him, or to give the audience a reason to actually think he's going to be the one that is coming in to try to save anything.
James, oh no, an underwritten male character. Oh, I'm heartbroken.
Oh, and to be clear, I would argue all the characters are underwritten in this movie.
You're just trying to
really.
I was so excited. I was chambering that statement for the last 30 minutes of this podcast. Because I was just waiting for the moment that I could unchamber that and just fire that right out there. Yeah, no, the biggest problem with this movie is not the visuals. The biggest problem with this movie is not the cinematography. It's the biggest problem is we have underwritten characters. And
the biggest problem with this movie is that you fell asleep 3 times and you didn't watch it proper.
Technically twice.
And you don't
have 3 times to get through
understanding.
It. But that just meant I had to rewatch a lot of scenes over again. So
you're going to have to rewatch the whole movie over again at this point.
Yeah,
at this point, I've seen the movie 5 times. And I had the exact same critique about Frankenstein, which is my struggle with Del Toro projects is when he leans so much into and you cannot discredit the visual construction of this movie, with the exception of the CGI. Visually, so stunning. The color palettes, the cinematography, how shots were framed, the camera movement. I love all of it. But in both Frankenstein and in this movie, I think we are served with appetizers of character development, not the main course. I think we had opportunities to get more into Alan. We absolutely had opportunities to get more into Edith. And there is almost nothing that we learn about Sir Thomas.
You know,
and to be clear, by design.
Sort of miniseries of this show.
But this show would have been a phenomenal miniseries.
Oh,
and
God.
8 parts.
Series.
8 parts.
Please.
And you can then have the bandwidth to get into these characters who we don't get into. And not that you can't do it in a 90-minute runtime. I'm just saying they did not do it in a 90-minute runtime.
It's tiresome. Okay, we have to get into the plot because you've got a hard exit time. So okay. All right. So we have Edith. She's an aspiring writer. We have Sir Thomas Sharp. He comes and he's like the hot shit bachelor in town. He's weirdly in town with his spinster sister. They have kind of a weird vibe, very goth aesthetic. I'm into it. Anyways, all of the ladies are in a tizzy because Sir Thomas Sharp is a baronet. Now he comes to town and his first introduction to Edith is when he creepily speed reads her manuscript and compliments it. But the reason that he's there in the first place is he is presenting to Edith's dad in order to get some finances for his home, which is lovingly nicknamed Crimson Peak.
Which we don't find out until later. What was it called? I wrote it down. It started with an A.
Allendale.
Allendale.
Yeah,
he below his manor is a clay mine, and the clay is tainted with red. It's this red clay, this scarlet clay. Cool, by the way, that really cool. And he's trying to get investments to mine the clay, and he's created these machines that can mine the clay because he's a self-taught engineer, which we only pick up from context clues. And Edith's father turns him down and says, "You've gone to Milan, You've gone to England. You've gone to, there was another place too. They all said no to you. I'm going to say no to you. So he leaves pretty dejected from this meeting. We then go to another, the door handle scene, which is, and why don't you unpack this one, Kat?
Okay, so first of all, like Charlie Dunham has come by to try and persuade Edith to go out for the evening because they're all going to a ball. We see her getting her father ready. They go to the ball. She's staying home. It's just another. It's another of them like telling us she's a homebody. She doesn't care about these sort of typical concerns. And so while she is home, she's in her bedroom reading, as she does, and she's in the most fabulous gold dressing gown, by the way. And all of a sudden, the door handle, we see the door handle start to like jiggle. It's like one of those lever handles, and it starts jiggling of its own volition. It is very creepy. It opens on its own. It's horrifying, and then it opens, and there's nothing there. And so she closes the door and she's like listening at the door. And of course, that's when we see like the ghosty shoot through the door, grab her head, and just be like, beware of Crimson Peak. Cut to, there's a knock on the door. And it's Thomas Sharp. He's most insistent that she brings herself out. And since the only thing hanging out with her at the house is her mom's ghost, she decides she's going to go out. This brings us to the ball where she winds up accidentally. She meets the sister for the first time, and we see her do this waltz with Thomas Sharp.
Her Cinderella moment.
Yeah, it is her accidental Cinderella moment. He asks her to dance, and she's like, "I don't think so." And he's like, "Yeah, well, I asked you, so like you're here. We're here. We're doing this."
I think we have to acknowledge the dress Jessica Chastain is wearing.
Yes. Okay.
With
So again,
the length of the train on that, when they did that crane shot down on her, like that
Right.
train.
Like I just
is
happen to
8
have this
feet
in the
long.
closet, by the way. Let me just throw it on and we'll go to the ball.
the clothing is very intentional. So her dresses are made to look antiquated for the time. So her dresses are literally about 10 to 20 years out of fashion, which is why they have a more Victorian sort of bent to them, as opposed to like Edith's dresses, which are like that leg of mutton sleeve approaching the Industrial Revolution.
So are we to think that from a class perspective that the audience there is looking down on the Sharps because they're out of fashion?
No, we do not get that impression at all. They are looking up to the Sharps because so this is happening in New York during like the very, very beginnings of the Industrial Revolution. This is the time period of like buccaneers. Basically, this is a time when landed aristocracy that was cash poor would send, their daughters over to the Americas because young bachelors in the Americas were looking for like who were nouveau riche, were looking to like marry people with titles who didn't have any money. So this was actually like the echo of like sort of a standard practice of the time, which was when cash poor landed aristocracy would come to the Americas with the intention of finding a bride who had a sizable dowry.
Okay.
So like the Americans like might notice that the dresses are like sort of out of fashion, but everything's so exotic. They're like, he has a sir in front of his name.
That's what I was going to say. It's exotic. They're foreigners. They're here from another country. Like that's so cool and pretty and fun and different.
When Sir Thomas dances with Edith, his sister named Lady Lucille, I have to like underline these names, gives them a dirty look. Like she cross-eyes her, and the father clocks it. Mr. Cushing, Edith's dad, clocks the dirty look, and they intentionally show him clock it. And I was like, interesting. I didn't catch that the first time I watched it. But he's sensing, like he already denied Sir Thomas the investment. but now he's sensing there's something deeper here. So after this ball, we're at the next morning. The father is at the men's club, and he's doing his morning rituals, and he's shaving, and he acknowledges that he likes to come here in the morning because no one else is here. Foreshadow that.
It's such a cutesy little morning ritual that he has. I absolutely love it. I too would like this morning ritual. Because he eventually orders breakfast, and he's like, "Get me breakfast with a cup of coffee and a glass of brandy."
If it's hot, and a sip of port, and I'll take eggs with sausage. It as someone who films a lot of country clubs for his 9 to 5. This lifestyle is still very much real.
People do this.
Mm-hmm.
I
mean, they don't. I wouldn't say they have. I wouldn't say they have tabled service in the locker room, but yeah.
Oh, well done.
So a guy who definitely does not look dressed as well, and definitely does not look groomed as well, saunters his way into the bathroom, and he's greeted by Mr. Cushing, who doesn't even have to look at him to know who he is. And he says, Mr. Holly. And Mr. Holly responds, Mr. Cushing. And we learn that Mr. Holly is a private eye, that Mr. Cushing is hired. So that's why he doesn't look as nice. He's a private investigator. He's probably from a little bit lower class who works. He works for whatever he can get. Mr. Cushing hires him to look into Sir Thomas and Lady Lucille. We then go to Alan, who's excited to show Edith his glass plates, which I mentioned that those do appear a little bit more subtly in the Frankenstein movie. But he's showing these glass plates, which he's talking about this concept of latent imaging, which is images that are like one example of a latent image would be if I take a photo on a digital camera and the impression from one photo ends up on the other photo. And you can have that with film, like the impression or the exposure ends up on two different negatives. That is a latent image. It is latent. It's carrying on from one to the other. But his explanation of latent images is the camera is able to show things that the human eye cannot see. And that exposure is of the deceased. We can see ghosts. We can see specters in these latent images. And he's showing these creepy photos to her. And I really like this analogy he used. He says, he equates it to being colorblind. He says so many people can't see these certain colors.
And the colors that he mentions are specifically the colors that we see repeated over and over.
Red and green.
But, okay, so, like, James, you said that you needed to see, like, proof of Alan's interest in Edith. Here it is. Like, so in the very beginning of the movie, we hear Edith talking about ghosts. We know that one of the things that's special about her is that she can see ghosts. She believes in ghosts. She puts them in her stories. Alan sees that this is something special about her. He sees it. He takes an interest. This is him courting her. So, like, you wanted to see it. Here it is. You're talking about it right now. You've seen it.
Yeah, okay. This is his version of flirting for real.
Yes. And this would work on me, by the way.
And I would not argue it's not effective, but this is the only thing we get. This movie, it's not a short movie. We have so much more time to actually have him attempting something here.
That time when he gets stabbed for her, I really thought that was like kind of above and beyond, but that's just me.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. Maybe my standards are too low. I should be asking guys to get utterly eviscerated for me.
So here's the question then. Is it that he's poorly written as a character?
I think it's that you fell asleep during the movie.
Or is it that he's poorly acted?
Neither.
Okay.
It can't be both. And it can't be neither.
It can't be both because it's neither. Heidi and I have both ruled against you. This is a jury.
It's neither.
I would
2/3 majority vote.
No one would ever label me as a Charlie Hunnam fan.
Sorry, are your eyes? I know you're wearing glasses. How bad is the situation with your eyes?
And I will even say I enjoyed Sons of Anarchy, and I would say he was one of the most stilted parts of Sons of Anarchy.
I didn't
And it,
like Sons of Anarchy. I did like Nicholas Nickleby. He plays Nicholas Nickleby in the Charles Dickens adaptation.
I
So
didn't see
but
it.
he also, I realized, having not seen this movie for a little while, he did that recent miniseries about Ed Gein. He does
yes,
fantastic
yes.
in that.
He's
Yeah, when I saw his face, I was like, oh my gosh.
he's so good. I recognized him right away in that. Like I like again, Nicholas Nickleby was my first impression of him, not Sons of Anarchy. So
I'll I'll give you Ed Gein. I only made it through the first half of an episode because Ryan Murphy is not palatable for me, as like my senses do not want Ryan Murphy productions, but Charlie Hunnam did exceptionally well in the 30 minutes I saw of that series. Okay, so
The whole thing's good.
I can agree
we
with you about Ryan Murphy, and you know how much I detest having to agree with you,
it's
but nevertheless,
Ryan Murphy's exploitative, but moving forward, we have another scene where now Edith is hanging out with Lady Lucille, and she's talking about these butterflies, and the butterflies are falling to the ground because they're dying. You know, the seasons are changing, and Lady Lucille actually feeds a butterfly to a pile of ravenous ants, and it is wildly. It is the most, I would argue, the most violent scene of the movie.
it's
Is these
also like
ants devouring this butterfly.
it's also the kind of metaphor that a child could understand. So I love the scene, but also can we just talk about the fact that Jessica Chastain is like fine china. She is so exquisite in every frame of this movie. She's
Yes.
brutal. She's such a bitch in this movie, but she's so stunning while doing it. Like and this also brings us my favorite still of Tom Hiddleston and Jessica Chastain in this movie, which is, of course, the scene where Tom Hiddleston is wearing those cunty little sunglasses,
Yep.
and has his arm up on the tree, and he's standing with Lady Lucille, and they just look so like they are the vampires visiting this little burg in New York.
He doesn't look unlike Dracula.
He's so vampire. They're both so vampire coded. They're so goth in this whole thing. That scene though with the sunglasses, like that's when you're like, oh, these guys are barely human.
Mm-hmm.
They stand out so much against this crowd, and obsessed. Everything they do would work on me. I would absolutely fall into this trap. That would be a Nola.
Who played Dracula in
Yep.
the Francis Ford Coppola movie? Who was that?
Wait, which one?
In the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula movie, who played Dracula?
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman. Yeah, he's a palette swap of Gary Oldman from, like, a young Gary Oldman from that Dracula movie.
Yeah. All he's missing is the goatee.
Mm-hmm. They have a quick conversation as they're under this tree, and Lady Lucille says, you know, she's not the right one. And Thomas says, I need the ring. Give me the ring. So Lucille gives the ring to Thomas, and someone says, you know, this is the last thing we have to sell. And then they say, no, we're not selling this. We're buying something. So something's afoot here. They're getting into.
And at that point, I believe Lucille says, I earned it.
Yes.
I think that's when she says that line.
And like maybe like the underlying thing, like the big secret was very obvious to everyone at this point, but it wasn't obvious to me. I'm like, what are they talking about? Like the first time I'm seeing this movie, I was just like, what are they talking about? Like I was fully intrigued. And I wouldn't have guessed like what the relationship truly turned out to be. I also maybe was distracted by the fact that there's jewelry in this scene. This ring, this is an heirloom, clearly. It is a massive gold ring that makes Taylor Swift's ring look like, you know, absolute cheapo. It's a gigantic ruby set in like this ornate gold. It's so gorge. So like I won't settle for anything less than that.
Yeah, what I was reading was maybe they're married. That's what I was reading. Like I didn't.
That's what I initially thought, and I thought that again last night, having not seen it for a couple years. I was like,
Me
oh
too.
yeah, I think like I
I
know they're brother sister, but I was like,
I
I think
forgot
they
that.
were like married too.
Yeah, I thought the brother sister was a front. So we go to the private eye who is handing Mr. Cushing an envelope. He says, "Don't open it here." Like, so whatever's inside is salacious enough that he doesn't want this open in public. So we're at a dinner party, and Cushing calls Thomas and Lucille into his office or into his study, and he presents them with a document that was contained within whatever the private eye gave him. And it's only on screen for a frame or two, so we don't see it. But clearly, it's something that is going to be embarrassing enough for them that they cannot stay in New York. But he's going to write them a check to get rid of them, to buy them off, because he is gauging that there's a love interest between Thomas and his daughter, and he wants to squash that. And why he's not just coming out with the truth, I do not understand. That would be so much of an easier thing to do, to be like, hey, here's what's going on with them. This is messed up. Dude's playing you. Here's the proof. But instead, he does the movie thing, which is, I'm just not going to tell people the information they need to make educated decisions, but instead I'm going to write a check to these people and I'm going to send them off. But he says, the requirement of you getting this check, which is what you want, it's what you originally came here for. I guess he's assuming the play for his daughter was just more manipulative than even he was intending. But you have to break my daughter's heart. You have to. What's that?
Thoroughly. You must
Thoroughly, yeah.
thoroughly break her heart.
Yeah.
I've memorized this movie. I've seen it a bajillion times.
So he does. He makes fun of her. He insults her. He insults her writing in front of everyone. And, she responds by slapping him and running upstairs to cry. The next morning, Cushing is where he likes to go in the morning. Of course, he told us where he likes to go in the morning. Although he didn't tell the person who met him there, which I find interesting. Like, how did she know? Or how did they know, I should say, as we're not doing that spoiler just yet. But he is brutally attacked, like head bashed into a sink.
Yeah,
attacked.
no, like let's break this. This is a brilliant.
It's so
scene.
gross. I don't want to break it down.
Yes, we're doing it. This scene is what Sam Raimi would call appropriate. So in this scene, we see like a very mysterious character, like putting on gloves and then gripping the back of Mr. Cushing's head and ramming it down on that sink. The sink breaks, but the ramming doesn't stop. And finally we get like this great shot of Mr. Cushing's head like fully caved in, like just the blood going into the drain. There's like water pouring out of the sink. It's a great shot. It is. It's so brutal. It's so like there's no doubt that like he is deceased, and it's brutal.
Yeah, I think it shows the capability of violence in the film, and I like how the red is so bright and going down the drain, like it's going back into the earth, like the clay.
I'm so glad that you pointed out the color in the scene, because the thing that I was going to say is that we're seeing that bright red against the gold tones of the club. And like we've seen the gold tones of like the scene when Thomas is breaking up with Edith, or like trolling her basically, and Edith slaps him. We see that brilliant wallpaper behind Edith that's all gold. Like everything in New York, everything about Edith's life is gold. And I mean, that makes sense. Thomas Sharp came to New York digging for gold. But so we're seeing like in this scene in the club, we see like sort of the last vestiges that we'll see of these gold colors as they sort of fade and bleed into literally blood red.
Sir Thomas has written a letter to Edith to tell her half of the truth of what happened, that I said those things because your father paid me to. He did not want me to be involved. He did not want you to be involved with someone of my likes. And this works. She goes in search of him. She rushes to his hotel.
I felt like
Then
I was 20 years old chasing my like first dumb boyfriend in this scene, by the way. Like I was fully invested. I'm like, yep, I would have chased Sir Thomas Sharp too.
okay, here's my question as the person who clearly is not observant of this movie. What the hell does she see in him?
Have you seen what Tom Hiddleston looks like actually?
Yes. No. And that not actor aside, from a character perspective, if she has the depth she has,
I believe she sees
what is he bringing to this equation?
mystery.
He's mysterious and and he appreciated her his first impression on her was complimenting her writing, appreciating the depth, and like and then he also nags her, which I think because of her young age works on her.
Alan nagged
Also,
her, but
like, can we please like we can't just not acknowledge the fact that Tom Hiddleston looks like Tom Hiddleston. That's part of like that's why he got cast in the movie. That's like he's
are we
hot, but also that scene where he's presenting to the group of investors and he's like, and this machine digs and it digs deep, and then he turns it on. Like, yes, dig me deep, Sir Thomas Sharp.
are we to think, by the way, that he never read her manuscript, that he simply saw it as a in, and that's why he was able to compliment it so quickly?
No, he's fully read it. Like I fully believe
start to finish it.
No, because like, and I fully believe that he did read it, like through in its entirety when he like goes up to her and he's like, by the way, Edith, your manuscript, it's terribly childish. Like when he does that, I believe that he has fully read it and he knows.
Well, at that point, he's fully read it. But in the first instance, when he tries to get her attention, he's like, "Oh, have you written about ghosts? I see." Like, is he just pretending because she's a pawn to him at that moment?
I don't think so. I think because I don't think he knows who she is at that point.
Yeah, he doesn't realize it's Cushing's daughter.
Secretary. So I think he genuinely like sped read the first page of her manuscript. Maybe the speed reading is a little bit jumping the shark, but you know, in a movie about about everything that this movie's about, maybe I'm gonna forgive that one.
Okay. So she's met at the hotel by not just him, but there are people there who are like, "Hey, your father's been murdered. You need to come identify the body." She goes to ID the body. She can't do it, but Alan's there. Alan's willing to do it. But Alan sees something that something's not right, and he wants to look further, but Edith will not abide. No, you will not investigate this because movie reasons. And we cut
movie reasons, they're sentimental reasons.
No, they're movie reasons. She just can't have him looking at the body. Cut to the funeral, and she's now wearing the red ring. So it's clear she is now with Sir Thomas. And right after the funeral, they're on their way to Aberdale Hall, which is his home. They're meted by the groundskeeper named Billy. Sir Thomas introduces Edith to him, and he says, "This is my wife." And he says, "Oh, yes, I know your wife. You've been married a while." And she kind of clocks that. She's like, "Why do you say that?" And he's like, "Oh, who knows the things he says." All of a sudden, a dog comes up, and she's like, "Oh, a dog." And he's like, "I don't know where that came from. The nearest house is not for miles." And he seems annoyed by the dog. Like, you can clock that. She's like, "Can we keep it?" And he's like, "You can keep the dog."
We're glossing over all of the important visuals here. So first of all, her dress in this, insane, completely insane. Like she's wearing this cream colored, like taffeta number. Oh my God, it's everything. And then underneath the layer, it has these blue and purple flowers because purple was actually a color that designated mourning in the Victorian time. So she has a little bit of black, she has a little bit of purple to indicate that she's still in mourning, but like just luscious, vibrant, gorgeous. They're going up to this insane house. Thomas Sharp tells her as they're coming up to the house, you're about to see why the house is called Crimson Peak. And we do get our first visual of this sanguine scene, for lack of a better term.
When she walks into the like entryway.
Yes.
Yeah, and you see like he says that the house is legitimately sinking into the mines below.
We literally see his feet sinking into the earth, and that red clay coming up, and the red clay just looks like bloody guts.
Yeah. And it's also streaming down the walls in the house too. How it got up the walls, I'm unclear.
Movie reasons.
But it's a good visual. It's unclear how, the clay worked itself up to the roof and then so it could seep down. She clocks dead flies in the house, like a pile of dead flies by a mirror, before seeing a spectered reflection in the mirror that she tries to pursue. She's told, by the way, very explicitly, do not go to the bottom level, which is the mine level. You must never go there.
Don't go in the basement.
Don't go into the basement. She had requested,
which is funny to me. Sorry, if he's stepping on the broken floor and clay's oozing up, yet there's a basement. How does that work, architecture-wise?
Girl, I do not know.
Yeah, I wouldn't ask for these.
I've ever thought about that. I don't know. I genuinely do not. No idea. Like
the house is more like it's an MC Escher designed.
This house, by the way, is insane. Okay, so let's talk about this, because this house was a specialty set built specifically for this film. They literally built a practical, you've been whining about the CGI. This is a practical set. They built
the set is amazing.
The set's amazing, and it was everyone's favorite that they've ever worked on ever. Every actor, every director, everyone who touched this movie said that this set was their favorite. So we have a Gothic inspired mansion. When Edith gets carried over the threshold in this killer dress, we see immediately that there's snow falling in the main foyer.
Yep.
I'm not a rich person. Is that a foyer?
That's how I would define it. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a grand staircase. It's this huge split level loft area where the ceiling is quite elevated, and from that roof we see snow coming down because they don't have the money to repair the house, so there's just a giant hole in the roof. This is actually a feature, not a bug, in my opinion. I'm sure it's terrible for water damage, but it's great for aesthetics.
It's very bad for water damage. This house is very damaged.
Oh yes.
But visually, we're hitting so many interesting tones here. We're going to be hit over the head with the color red quite a bit. The dog has a red ball that it plays with. Sometimes the ball rolls back on its own. The water, when she goes to take a bath, will be red at first.
And then of course the walls behind her are green.
Yeah. The walls in the bathroom were that bathroom design with the piping on the wall.
I want that so bad.
Cool. Yeah, so cool. We have a quick scene of Lady Lucille and Sir Thomas arguing about the dog. I thought the dog was dead. Why I left it outside? How could it have survived for so long? A question we never get an answer to. Her money's not here yet, is one of the arguments that come up. And we see Lady Lucille making tea. And this is one of the more obvious things in the movie. The tea's poison. We know this the second Lady Lucille's making a cup of tea. That
Oh,
the
yeah,
tea's
yeah.
poison. How Edith never sees it is more alarming. But in the bath, she's going to see this shadowy woman figure, which is the first ghost we've seen since her mother, right before the ball. And this ghost is red, which I love that. Even though I don't like the CGI, I love the color choice of this.
Nothing about these ghosts could have been accomplished with practical effects. I'm sorry.
I disagree. I 1000% disagree.
The caved-in skull.
No. Because one of the best parts of this scene too is the specter's like reaching out, and she's missing very important fingers.
Yes. Fingers, because she has defensive wounds that we learned about later.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like her ring finger's been cut off.
Yes.
Ring
finger was cut off. And I defy that statement that you can't do this practically, because we saw this practically in 1987's Hellraiser on a woefully fraction of a budget.
Rewatch that movie and tell me that it is at all the equivalent of what we see in this film.
I'm just telling you.
Rewatch these two things frame by frame. Put aside your romanticized version of what you saw in like 1987 and like watch these two things side by side. They are not actually the same. They're like, one is better, and the one that's better is Crimson Peak. I'm right.
Yep.
No, I'm right. It's
Cat's
I'm
right.
telling you that 1987,
I'm
the
right.
practical effects
Majority rules
stand up better than the CGI effects of this movie.
The jury says nay.
You legitimately see a skeletal figure form out of the floor.
It's not as good. I'm telling you. Like, I've seen that movie
on a $1 million budget, which I think was their budget for that movie. Imagine if they'd had the budget to do that. Like, no.
If they had the budget that Crimson Peak had, do you know what they would have done? They would have used CGI.
No, they would have done a better practical effect and an already great practical effect.
You are higher than Giraffe Pussy now.
As a Sam Raimi fan, I am appalled at your disagreement in this.
As a Sam Raimi super fan, this movie rules. Sam Raimi would be like, this movie rules. I feel confident in that.
Okay.
We're watching Send Help, right?
Send Help?
Tell me you've heard of this. The new Sam Raimi?
Oh.
Rachel McAdams?
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't clock the title. It's actually his highest rated Rotten Tomatoes movie ever.
I'm so excited.
Rated R movie. Sorry, to be clear, rated R movie. Highest rated R movie he's had on Rotten Tomatoes.
I have a deep appreciation for Sam Raimi.
Oh, please. We're up to at least 3 by now. We do get a scene of Sir Thomas and Edith in a room, and Sir Thomas clocks that his sister's spying on them, which I like that scene. I like that he's able to sense his sister spying on them through the keyhole.
So, let's break this down, because Edith winds up having what I would consider to be like a really uncomfortable, inappropriate conversation with her new sister-in-law. Her new sister-in-law just sort of indelicately is like, "Hey, here's some porn."
Right?
Yeah.
You should know all about this now.
Oh, that is porn. And Jessica Chastain's character is like, surely this can't shock you. You've seen my brother's dick. I'm paraphrasing. But so like Edith is like, no, he's been very respectful of my mourning. And so like we know that Jessica Chastain's character is just like checking on things, but it's so uncomfortable. And the scene is meant to rustle your jimmies.
Yeah, it was very gross scene. We cut to Alan. Alan's on the case back in America.
Is he back on the case because he's very interested?
Well, we haven't seen him in how long. He's searching around the house. What's interesting about this is if you were to put this on a calendar, when is he going back to the Cushing estate to investigate versus when the funeral happened, when she traveled to England, when she's gone to this house? She's now spent a bit of time, like, feels like he could have gone to the Cushing estate much earlier to
Well, we
do
don't
his
have a clear
investigating.
sense of the timeline, but we know that he was highly suspicious of the Sharp family from the beginning. And when we
Mhm.
see him at the funeral, he nods at Sir Thomas Sharp, but he is very clearly suspicious. He is giving us like a full face of like squinty, suspicious eyes at Sir Thomas Sharp.
And I think there was a scene
From the beginning, we know that.
I think there was a scene at the funeral. Was it at the funeral where it was Mr. Cushing's lawyer who suggested he look into the finances? Was that it?
Yeah, I think so.
So he was tipped off, and we do get a bit of a clue, by the way, earlier in the movie about Alan's aspirational identity, which is Edith had clocked a Sir Arthur Conan Doyle book in his plethora of medical textbooks, and so she finds a Sir Arthur Conan Doyle book, and that's our hint. He's going to be the detective in this case. He finds the checkbook and he sees that Cushing wrote a check to Sir Thomas, and he's wondering why would he have written a check to them as he denied them funding.
I also want to point out that he remains cloaked in the gold tones from earlier in the film, while the rest of the film becomes more stylized and we see more of the crimson. Our guy Charlie Dunham, he stays in that gold realm.
Stay golden, pony boy.
Because the color is such a character in this film.
Sir Thomas and Edith almost do the deed. They get so close in his little toy workshop. But who comes bursting in? Lady Lucille with tea. It's time for a tea break.
She literally puts, it's such a hard stop. Okay, so like literally, like just to describe the scene to our viewers. So Sir Thomas Sharp, Tom Hiddleston, is like, Edith, look at all these dumb toys that I made for my sister. And it's like literally like a monkey clapping cymbals, like that style of toy. And Edith is like, I'm fascinated and so in love. And then they like basically have a go on and kiss the girl scene that is rudely interrupted by Lucille, like literally barging in with a tea tray and is like, how about some poison?
The ghost, or I guess we could say ghosts, plural. Is there more than one?
There is definitely more than one. There are decidedly multiple ghosts here. Because we see the caved in skull with the missing finger. We see Enola. We see, which one is the one with the baby?
That I believe that's Enola who's holding the baby.
Holding the baby.
Okay,
but it's not her baby.
It's not her baby.
Which we'll learn later. Yeah. So it takes to this point that Edith starts to investigate on her own. A ghost leads her to find a wax cylinder recordings, which she takes note of, but doesn't do anything with. At that moment, she finds a trunk with the name Enola on it.
Oh, and she finds this trunk in the basement.
Yes.
She winds up getting stuck in the elevator, getting taken down to the basement where she finds a complete luggage set that apparently isn't suspicious at all, with monogrammed with Enola on there. But that entire scene is also a horror. I watched that entire scene like this, like, because the entire time you're like, don't go in the basement.
Yep. She tries to approach Thomas about this and ask him, but he is distracted with his machine, and she doesn't ever ask the actual question. For some reason, she's afraid to ask like specific questions, and thus she gets no specific answers. He burns his hand on his machine, and that's the excuse for him to not really give into her inquiry. That's actually when he acknowledges that the property is called Crimson Peak. It was that scene, and that's where he's walking out because snow has now covered the ground. He's walking through the snow, and the clay is seeping up through his footprints in the snow. So the red is saturating the white snow.
It's a really strong visual in that scene, and we see it click into place when, as soon as Thomas Sharp says, now you know why it's called Crimson Peak. As soon as he says that, we see Edith have a moment of like, you mean that shit that my mom told me to beware of when she appeared twice as a ghostly apparition? We see it kind of click into place. It's not overt. They trust us. Like, they trust the audience. They don't like do a whole flashback or whatever. But it's a really cool scene. This scene is also foreshadowing for a big fight that we're going to have later on in the same set. So this is like us getting to know this part of the set.
So a bathtub scene happens where it's the woman with the cleaver in her head who like climbs out of this bathtub and screams at her, "Leave here now. His blood will be on your hands."
Not spooky at all. It's so delicious. I love this movie so much. So like at this point, Edith is starting to get sick. And like we're seeing this in every facet of the movie. Her clothes are becoming more gauzy, more sheer, as I mentioned earlier. She's becoming paler, more frail, but she is doggedly pursuing this mystery, and you get a sense of like, if it were any one of us, we would text a friend, we would like, reach out like over the internet or something, and you get a sense of just the pure isolation that this young woman has in this situation as she's getting sicker and sicker, and she is reaching out to Thomas for help. Finally, they have an opportunity to leave the premises. And I'm trying to remember what is the, I can't believe I didn't put a note. They have to go pick up. Oh, I remember. They have to go pick up a letter from her father's estate. It's something from her dad's lawyers. There's been an issue with transferring the money from her dad's estate. Obviously, the Sharps are heavily invested in getting their hands on her money. The only reason that she hasn't been off this planet is because they haven't gotten the money yet. So they need to get her dowry. So she and Thomas take a trip off campus to go to the post office, which is like in town. So it's like a day's journey. And they wind up getting snowed in. So the post office, I've never been to this kind of post office, but this post office happens to have like a little suite above the post office that they can stay in overnight. And this
B&B.
This is when they finally consummate the marriage, and we get a full shot of Tom Hiddleston's butt as it thrusts. It's great.
Yeah, I was going to say that it was a thrusting shot.
It's a thrusting shot.
But prior to this, the postmaster had given her a letter from Milan that was not supposed to be for her, but for Enola.
For Mrs. Sharp. And she happens to be Mrs. Sharp, but a lot of people seem to have been Mrs. Sharp.
Yep. And she asks him about Milan. Have you ever been to Milan? And he immediately understands why she's asking, but then she just lets it go. I guess because...
Okay, again, I just want to say, like, I would also believe a lot of things that Tom Hiddleston told me.
Okay.
Well, and Edith already knows he's been to Milan because she was in the room with her father when he pulled out the little toy version of his contraption.
That's right.
There's something so amiss about his motives here, and she's just allowing this to unfold, and it is so against the grain of her.
Well, what exactly are her options in those moments? Like, even when we think that she knows he's lying, like, what options are available to her really?
Well, at some point, it becomes too late. As Miss Lucille points out, you have nowhere to go. But early on, it flies in the front of her having independent strength of who she is and her character for her to just go along with Sir Thomas in all of this.
Fair. Okay, so after these crazy kids spend a magical night together at the post office, they do make it back home.
And Lucille is a mess.
She throws a bucket of stew against the wall, which goes actually great with the clay that's already seeping through. It's just stuff on the wall again. But yeah, she is pissed, and we start to get a sense of like the type of violence that she's capable of.
She tries to walk it back, say, "Well, I just can't be alone. I was worried about you guys," but I don't think anyone's buying it.
Our Jimmies are rustled. We've seen.
Yep. We do have Edith reading. She finds all these envelopes and she's reading the locations of these envelopes. We do have a flashback here, and I guarantee this flashback was added in post, because this is one of those ones where I bet test audiences didn't understand what was happening, so we need to add some flashbacks in this scene here. She ends up stealing a key from Lucille. Lucille notices the key's missing, and the keys to Honora's trunk. That's how she was able to get these letters. And so Lucille sets a trap for Edith to put the key back, which she falls for.
Yeah, so she falls for that trap, and like we start to see that Lucille is maybe turning the dial up on the poison.
Yeah.
Edith is getting decidedly sicker as the movie progresses, and as you pointed out, at a certain point it becomes too late. So Edith realizes, by the way, like this entire scene, this entire time we're getting cutbacks of Charlie's character, Alan. Sorry, I keep forgetting his name in the movie, Alan.
Alan doesn't fit.
We keep getting cutbacks of like Alan. Alan is now traveling to England. Alan is coming to get her.
He's on the case.
Her. He has found out that like Thomas Sharp has been married before. He's found everything. He's coming to rescue her. And we're just like watching, like going like, will he make it in time? Because Edith has now become very sick. By the time that she realizes she has to get the hell out, she goes to the front door and basically collapses right in front of it because she is snowed in. We get this great shot of her nightgown, which is now almost completely translucent. Somehow the poison has also affected her night clothes, and so we get a great shot of this filtered light coming through the gauzy nightgown. It's so great. It's so good. It's so beautiful, and she winds up like basically collapsing in a pile of snow.
She's, to play that further, she's turning as translucent as the ghosts.
Yes.
There are a few other scenes I feel have some weight to them. Jessica Chastain is talking about her mother and how her mother fell ill, and she said, "I made her better, and I'll do the same for you." That's so we're to learn that better means dead. But I love that line. We also have another quick scene where Lucille serves tea to Edith, and Sir Thomas takes the tea away from her and says, "Don't drink that, never." His exact lines. So he's now turning. Apparently what happened at the post office has shifted his, how many other women did he allow this fate to come to, but not Edith. And that is when Alan comes to town, but not before Edith sees the ghost with the baby, as we mentioned, a ghost holding a baby, and she actually asks it, "Tell me what you want. Show me what you want to show me." And the ghost directs her to walk in on Thomas and Lucille together, which a very disturbing scene.
Yes. So we actually hear there's a little bit of an audio clue in this. So throughout the movie, we see Lucille playing this one song on the piano that is apparently a lullaby that she used to sing for Thomas. They make that clear. Like the parents were incredibly abusive. They kept the kids locked up in the attic, where apparently they developed a flowers in the attic type of relationship. So when Edith goes up and walks in on her husband and his sister, she is following the sound of Lucille humming that lullaby. She is humming that. I'm gonna get graphic. I'm gonna describe the scene. So she follows the sound of the humming and comes into into the workshop in the attic and sees Lucille and Thomas embraced, where Lucille basically has her hand on his breeches and is just going to town on her brother while humming the lullaby. Ah! It's horrifying.
And the attic, they mentioned the attic used to be the nursery as well, so it's extra creepy.
So it is fully a flowers in the attic situation, and like, oh, and like it just calls into clarity like all of these moments that we've seen throughout the movie. Like there's a scene where Lucille is like talking about her mom, and she's like, I like to think she could see everything we're doing down here.
Gross.
Do you?
So gross.
So gross. So gross.
So gross.
And then, of course, Chastain is like, well, now it's all out in the open and I can murder you.
Yep. And at that point, Alan shows up. Nick of time.
Yes. Okay. So we have this fantastic scene where basically Jessica Chastain shoves Edith off the balcony. Edith lands in the giant pile of snow from the giant hole in the ceiling because and that's when Alan walks in and is like, yeah, so what's up?
And so casual too, like so chill. He's like, oh yeah, I'll help set her leg.
I see that your new bride is collapsed in a pile of snow in the middle of your foyer.
Let me help here. No worries. Like you could have come in guns blazing, buddy. Like you could have been like, I'm getting her out. Like this is not the time for restraint, as we'll learn, because his restraint, his subtlety in this and ends up with Lucille stabbing him. Right under the arm.
Lucille doesn't stab him. Wait, does Lucille?
Yes.
Yeah, Lucille does.
Yes. No, you're right.
Lucille gets him right in the armpit. So right into the lung. Yeah.
Can I just say the stabbing destinations, like every single stabbing in this movie is like just uncomfortable to watch.
Lucille tells Thomas he has to finish this. And so Thomas goes to end Alan, but then leans in and is like, listen, you're a doctor. Tell me where to put the blade. Okay. So
and Alan gives him the Blackbeard special. I don't know if there are any Our Flag Means Death fans out there, but a feature of that show is they tell you exactly where to get stabbed so that it won't hurt you, which is on the left side, which is exactly where Alan directs him. It misses all your vital stuff's on the right side, your liver and pancreas.
Stabs him in the left. Lucille doesn't notice, but then I guess because she's busy killing the dog, which bummer.
Yeah. Why
didn't need that to happen?
Have to pay.
Didn't need that to happen. Thomas then decides he kind of directs Edith. He says, I know you don't trust me, but you can run right now, or Alan, here's where Alan is. You guys can go together, but I'm going to go destroy the papers you just signed, by the way, giving me everything. Like, I'm going to fix this. It's not too late. And so he goes and he throws the papers into the furnace, to which he gets into then a squabble with his sister, to which leads her to stab him in a squabble, which ends up with Lucille stabbing him in the face.
In the face. Okay. All right. Like, can we describe this too? Because like,
do we have to?
It's yes, we have to. Half the reason that I think when people tune into this is because they don't want to see the uncomfy stabbings. We describe it to them so they don't have to watch. All right, so that you don't
like in the cheek.
It's in the cheek, right below the eye. Like so, like if you're watching this on right here, the like just in between like the eye socket and the orbital bone, right here is where that stab lands, and it's like with like a letter opener style like kind of knife, so just right in there, right in the brain pan. We see this moment of shock on Jessica Chastain's face, and she's like, oh shit, I didn't mean to stab my brother lover.
Oopsie.
Yeah,
it happened.
and you see Sir Thomas Sharp just be like, did you just stab me in the fucking like it's brutal, it's visceral, it's so uncomfy.
And then
I love
he
it.
bleeds from the eye and dies.
Yes,
But
yes,
yep,
it's so good. It's so good.
yep, that's it. So Lucille attempts to escape, and now it's when the house really looks like it's bleeding. By the way, like we've noticed the clays on the walls before. Now it's a little
It's
more.
running. It is running
Yeah,
like a faucet
yeah.
in the background.
Lucille tries to stop her outside, but the thing that distracts her is Edith calls out, "Your brother's right behind you," and she does. She looks, but he is actually there. He is actually there, ghost form.
Yes,
But
and
he's
there
there,
is blood like
coming
is
down from the
coming
eye.
out of his like wound. It's a beautiful shot of him as a ghost. He is somewhat done up in the same not quite the exaggerated style of the ghost that we've seen, but like a little bit in the same style of the ghosts we've seen.
Getting there, yeah.
Um, just slightly. He hasn't had enough time to become warped into what the ghosts of the manor
Yeah.
get warped into. But it is a gorgeous shot. And in that moment, Edith takes the shovel and just whammo.
Done. Goodbye, Lady Lucille.
Indeed.
So, and then she's able to escape,
Yeah,
hopefully with Alan.
she shuffles off with a very wounded Alan. And again, this is why I say like she really couldn't give her heart to anybody who wasn't like hadn't been taken down a little bit of a notch. Like I think she ends up with Alan in the end of the movie. And I think that one of the reasons that she ends up with him is that he's like on more even footing with her. But that's like a dissertation for my women's studies course.
Well, that's assuming he survives the 4-mile walk to town.
He survives the 4-mile walk to town as Charlie Dunham.
Mm. All right.
Well, he's going to survive the walk back because all the townspeople showed up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's right. Okay. Well.
Because he rallied the troops before he went. He stopped at that same post office hotel, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we never liked that butt thrusty guy."
Let's grab our pickets. All right.
Yep.
Deliberation. Kat, let's start with you.
I mean, this is like my favorite movie of all time, and I'm sorry that I'm reviewing it in my jet lagged state. I just got back from Washington, and I thought this podcast recording was 2 hours later because of the time difference. So apologies for that, but this movie is one of my favorite movies. It is not guilty. James is wrong about every criticism that he has, and that's my opinion.
Heidi.
This is definitely not guilty, unless it's a guilty pleasure. I think this movie's great. I love the effects. I love the story. It's very goth, which is so me. I've watched it again at least more than half a dozen times. Every couple years I watch it, and I'm happy to.
All right. I think if you wanted a movie as this movie was marketed, it's wildly guilty because it doesn't achieve that. If you want and if you like Del Toro,
straight to jail.
It's perfect. It is a perfect encapsulation of his vision, his style, his approach to storytelling. And if that's for you, then you will love this movie.
Okay, just give us an answer. Is it guilty or is it not guilty?
Well, that's the answer. I'm not a Del Toro fan. I've never been a Del Toro fan. So for me,
what?
Wrong from the get-go. So like, should you even have a movie podcast?
Wow.
Yeah, I'm questioning this.
That's why I said I look at this movie as this is something that I can respect.
Give me your lunch money right now.
But it's not something that I found enjoyable.
You don't know joy then.
I've never been so offended. It's like you just slapped me. It's like you just told me that my ghost story was bad on the staircase in my father's home.
Yeah.
How I feel.
It wasn't, yeah. Maybe
Did
did a different job.
My ghost story childish?
Yeah, it was elementary.
We're fighting. This is why we record from like 2 hours in different cities because otherwise we would physically fight.
I will err on the side of not guilty.
Oh, thank you for like calling this
But with a massive
Definitely
asterisk
brilliant
that
movie, good.
no, this is not a movie for everyone. It's and Del Toro is not a director for everyone.
I guess it's not a director for people
Then
with bad taste, for sure.
yeah, those people are not my people.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And I'm glad it is for you. And not in a passive aggressive way at all. Like I appreciate the art of it. But from like and I struggled with Frankenstein this way. I feel like there's so much that gets skipped on from a character perspective that it bugs me.
I beef
See,
with
and
you
now
so
I'm gonna have to watch it. Like now it's
yes.
on
No,
my to-do
okay. All
list.
right. Heidi, you and I are doing like a separate, we're going to do a bonus episode where we analyze Frankenstein and we actually do it correctly through the lens of people who appreciate
It's
Del
yeah,
Toro.
our first retrospective episode where
I honestly like
we
we need more of this because like James can't be allowed to have the final say on things, clearly.
no, and that's nor should I.
Ah!
Well, I
show
haven't
is
seen Frankenstein yet, so that doesn't help.
Well, we'll have to explore that. But what else do we have coming up with Love Hurts Month? Because this episode hurt apparently.
Oh my god.
Feelings were hurt. Feelings were hurt.
Hopefully just yours.
Possession from 1981. Watcher from 2022. Ooh. Okay. I haven't seen Possession. I have seen Watcher and I've seen it once. And I was like wildly blown away by it. So I'm curious.
I'm safely still renting my house, so you know.
Yeah. All right. So look forward to that. Huge thanks to both Heidi and Kat for being wrong on this episode. And
Oh, so we are fighting.
yeah, totally.